Okay, the last time we talked about the making of our chains in crocheting. Now, these are what we call the foundation chains. In crocheting, we need to make these chains to be able to make the stitches. Every chain looks like a V. If you look at this, it looks like a V. Each of the chains look like a V with one leg at the back and one leg towards us, which is the front leg. The one farther away, it's known as the back leg. Now, for now, we need to learn what we call the single crochet. The single crochet is the basic foundational stitch in crocheting. Single crochet stitch. It's also in abbreviation as SC. So when you see SC, it's called single crochet. And now it's important for us to know that single crochet is a term used by the Americans. The Americans use single crochet. Single crochet in American terminology means double crochet in the British terminology. So when you're reading the patterns and you see double crochet, always check to know if it is the American or British terminology, because there is also double crochet in American terminology. The double crochet in American terminology is treble crochet in British. So it's always important to know the terminology that we're using. Single crochet I will stick with, which is the American terminologies. Throughout my classes, we'll be using the American terminologies. So it's single crochet, and that's what we're going to do today. Now, each of the V's, like I said, makes a chain. So this is the slip knot. I said it earlier on that it is not a chain, it is not a stitch, it is nothing but a slip knot. Now, I'll start with the first V here. That's 1 chain, 2 chains, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have 13 V's here. Now, in making single crochet, we skip, when you're working in a row, you skip the first chain and go to the next chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the next chain. This is the first chain, the first 2 V's, the first V, and I go into this one. I go to the back leg. The back leg is the leg farther away. And then I yarn over. We now know what yarn over means. I'm bringing this loop. So I have 2 loops on my crochet hook. I yarn over again and release the 2 loops this time. So how do we make our single crochet? Just go into the leg. You can go into the back leg or the front leg or both legs, but I'm going to the back leg this time, one of the legs of the V, and I'm bringing in this yarn to form 2 loops on my crochet hook. Now I yarn over and I release the 2 loops. I go in again, bring in, yarn over to bring in a loop. I have 2 loops here. Now I yarn over and release the 2 loops. Again, I go in to the leg to bring in a loop by yarning over. I yarn over again and release the 2 loops. Again, what do? I go into this leg, yarn over to bring in a loop, then I yarn over and release the 2 loops. I go into the leg, yarn over to bring in the loop, yarn over, release the 2 loops. Again, I go into the leg, yarn over to bring in the loop, yarn over to release the 2 loops. Again, I go into the leg. I have about 6 more to do. Go into the back leg, yarn over to bring in that loop. I yarn over again to release the 2 loops. So I go into the back leg again, yarn over to bring in the loop, yarn over again to release the 2 loops. I go into the back loop, yarn over, bring in the loop, yarn over, release the 2 loops now. I go into the back leg, yarn over. Now I always say that we should secure the throat, the yarn on the throat of the loop, of the hook. So it's easy for us to bring it in. Yarn over, we release the 2 loops. And this is the last one. We're ignoring the knots. We go into the back leg again of the last one, last chain. Yarn over to bring in the loop. We yarn over to release the 2 loops. Now, with single crochet, we are working in rows now. With single crochet, while working in rows, we have what we call the turning chain. So I'm going to make a chain now, which I call my turning chain. It allows me to turn my work easily. So the chain could be seen here while the stitches go this way. With single crochet, I'm not going to skip any stitch. So this is the chain. The next stitch has this is the chain here. The way we'll know the next stitch is the V again. The V will let us know each of the stitches. So this 1V, 2V, 3V, 4V, 5V, 6V, 7V, 8V, 9V, 10V, 11V, 12V. So we're back to our 12 stitches again. Now, this is the chain that I just made to turn my work. And I could go to the back leg again. Otherwise, the conventional way of crocheting is to go in between the 2 legs. So these are the 2 legs. I go under the 2 legs and I bring in the loop again by yarning over. I yarn over again and release the 2 loops. So I'm not skipping any stitch here. I go into the 2 legs again, yarn over, bring in the loop, yarn over, release the 2 loops on the hook. I go into the 2 legs here, I yarn over and bring in the loop, I yarn over, release the loop, the 2 loops. I go into the 2 legs again. These are the 2 legs. I yarn over, bring in the loop, yarn over, release the loops. Again, I go into the 2 legs, yarn over to bring in the loop, I yarn over to release the loops. I go into the 2 legs, yarn over to bring in the loops, yarn over to release the loops. I go into the 2 legs, yarn over to bring in the loops, yarn over to release the loops. I go into the 2 legs of the next stitch, yarn over to bring in the loops, yarn over to release the loops. I go into the 2 legs again. Like I said, depends on your pattern. If you want to go, you can use the back leg, the front leg, or in the middle, depending on your pattern. But the conventional way is to go in through the 2 legs, except your pattern says otherwise. Like your pattern could say go through the back leg or the front leg. So I've done this now, and this is my last V. Sorry. So I go into the last V here. I yarn over, bring in the loop, yarn over, release the 2 loops. So now I'm at the end of the second round. Now, to be able to keep my work straight, I just need to do the turning chain. The turning chain is nothing but a turning chain. So we are never going to be stitching into the turning chain. We're going to be casting our stitches only on the stitch itself. So I'll do my turning chain and then I turn my work. Now I'm going to ignore the turning chain because it's nothing but a turning chain, and I will go into the next stitch. The first stitch, I'm not going to skip any stitch. With single crochet, American single crochet, and double crochet in the British terminology, you don't skip any stitch when you're turning your work, when you're working in rows. Now, so except your pattern says otherwise, but the conventional ways when working in rows is you do your turning chain and you go to the very first stitch. The very first stitch again has two legs of the V. So I'm going through it and I yarn over, bring in the loop, I yarn over and release the two loops. So with this, I'll continue again until I get to the end of the row. Remember that the end of the row will always have the turning chain. You will always know the turning chain because it's going to form a bump. This is the end of the row. This is the last V. This is not a stitch. Don't stitch into this. This is the last V. Only turn into the put the loop into the V, the last V, and that is it. So this is what we've been able to do. We call this the single crochet, and we keep going in rounds like that, as many as we want. Like I said, it depends on the pattern. Some patterns could say stitch into the back leg of the V. The back leg of the V will be the farther one away from you, while the front leg of the stitch, which is the front leg of the V, will be the closer leg to you. But the conventional way, like I say again, is to go through the two V's, the two legs, except your pattern says otherwise. So I guess with this, we will be able to make our rows and keep our work straight. The reason we have the turning chain is to guide us so that we don't increase the stitches. Because once we get to the end of the row, we're going to get to the turning chain, and we know we don't go into that turning chain because it's always very small and tiny to work with. So we'll know that is the turning chain. With that, your work is going to be straight without increasing or reducing your stitches. Thank you for listening.